Hello fellow cinephiles, 90s Film Guru here. Thanks for joining me today. For those who are new to the channel, my name's Sean, also known as the 90s Film Guru, and I started this channel to only have my say on everything 90s. A friend of mine called NetX5, Luke, who ultimately had his own channel called NetX5, have come together and started a podcast. Now we've only done one episode and we hope to do more, and we're going to be looking at certain things in regards to film, but more sort of breaking down things and not necessarily just basic reviews, but just talking about cinema in general. And our next lot of videos are going to be movies that inspired us or had an impact on us. David Lynch, have a variety of things. Anyway, I won't go into too much depth. So today, this video is really about me sort of doing an introduction to the podcast we want to do and actually doing a little bit of a video in regards to it. So what's going to follow after this is ultimately the podcast, the first episode of the podcast that me and Luke shot, Passion for the Film. And this is just sort of trying to get it out there ultimately. We've put it on Spotify and things like that, but this is sort of putting it on my channel for you guys to have a listen to and see what you think and see if it's something that you want to listen to. And we're ultimately going to be doing more. It's only an introduction, so it's not very long, but it is sort of just a basic outline of what we want to do and ultimately an introduction of who we are as reviewers and what we really want to accomplish with the particular podcast. Without further ado, here is our first podcast, Passion for the Film, me and Luke.
Welcome to Passion of the Film, a place where two guys from Australia talk about their passion and love for cinema. My name's Luke, and this is my friend Sean.
Hi, everyone.
So basically, we wanted to do a podcast because the two of us, we've been friends for a long time, 9 years at this point, and we've both had this like deep, passionate love for cinema, pretty much, because like we both, you know, we're pretty much well-rounded like with what movies we like, because we, you know, love all genres like horror, action, comedy, and we first both started like doing the YouTube route where we each had our own channels and we like talked about movies. But then for me personally, I kind of just like lost the passion for that a little bit. Still love to like watch and review movies, but like I always wanted to like do sort of the podcast thing where, you know, with Sean, we can talk about these movies in just a very analytical, deep way.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's been a long journey. We've been trying to get this going for a while, but it's never really felt like the right time until now. And like Luke said, you know, we've had our YouTube channels. I still have mine, you know, 90s Film Guru, but it sort of just doesn't feel the same. And I kind of wanted to have something else we could really use to talk about what we want to talk about in a wider way than just doing a single 10-minute review or whatever.
Yeah, and I know like with us two personally, the way we talk about movies, like it's always like so fun to hear our own conversations, because like we like have such a knowledge of movies. And it's like, you know, when we met 9 years ago, because we both studied the same field course, like to me you're kind of like the Obi-Wan, like more like more like the Alec Guinness Obi-Wan, where you're like this.
I'm the old man.
Well, the old pretty much, where you're the old man who had this great knowledge of like movies, and I was still like still had a good knowledge of movies, but you were like well beyond me. I was just like, teach me. So like we've like so it's been like nine years later, like our knowledge of film has like grown since then, and like just we like wanted to like do that now, where with this podcast, pretty much our goal for it is we just wanted to just cover as much ground as we can regarding film, where, you know, we don't want to like do singular reviews like single movies, like unless there's a movie where we can talk about it in like a very deep way, like where we can like analyze it and pick it apart. We won't do like just a traditional review of like, this movie's good, you should go see it. We'd rather like talk about the why of it.
Yeah, I guess something like David Lynch, you know, his movies are easier to try and break down and talk about than anything. But yeah, you're definitely right. We don't want to sort of just do simple reviews, because so many people are doing those. We want to sort of really have a look at these films and break them down and talk about what we drew from them, what they're saying, and what we really felt when we were watching them.
Yeah, and we kind of like, with our goals, we want to like cover sort of like, so if we do cover a certain movie, we will like do a deep dive in that, but we also cover like franchises as a whole, and we're going to like do it pretty naturally, because like in like future episodes, we will like cover like franchises, but we'll do our research, we'll rewatch them, and so like, we can have like fresh perspectives on them. So it's like, you know, some movies we haven't seen forever, we'll rewatch them and just like oh, I picks up something new this time. Speaking of David Lynch, we're also thinking of doing like a series like director retrospectives where we'll focus on a director's career and just look at their entire filmography.
Yeah, and I think that's be really interesting, and also looking at actors as well, like, and there's other things when I, look at series of movies, video game adaptations of movies, and just sort of really talk about general cinema, but just sort of breaking down certain aspects of it, I guess.
Yeah, because I know, speaking of like, video games, like we'll try to avoid becoming a video game channel, but like if there's a video game that like ties to a movie in a certain way, we want to talk about it. And like there's that recent Indiana Jones and the Great Circle game that's just come out. We're not Xbox people though, so we're kind of waiting for that PlayStation 5 version to come out, but once it does, then we'll both play it, and we'll just like, because like we're both like passionate about Indiana Jones, and we kind of want to see how much the game like is a tribute to that.
Well, I think, yeah, exactly. But I think like it does look like a huge tribute, and probably the better sequel that we could have got in regards to the Indiana Jones franchise. But yeah, there's just so many different things that we want to sort of explore on this sort of podcast, and just try and just show how passionate we are about cinema and the things that really inspired us in certain movies as well.
Yeah, because for this episode, we're more just like introducing who we are, what the goal is for this thing, and like, because the next episode after this one, we're going to talk about the biggest movies that have had the biggest impact on us. So like we're saving like the best for next week, the next episode. Definitely dive deeper into like how much cinema has impacted on us. But like today with this episode, we just wanted to like introduce ourselves, like what this podcast is going to be, just covering all ground. We're going to cover movies, franchises, actors, where like we'll definitely like focus on actors like even if like some actors like bigger than us, we also want to focus on actors who are like smaller. Like we want to focus on the smaller character actors like you've never really paid much attention to or had their small cult following, like J.T. Walsh and Fred Ward.
Yeah, and even maybe Gary Busey too. He's another one that people know, but yeah, he's sort of a really great character actor as well. Really is just a platform for us to really try and converse with each other. Like we're we're really inspired a lot by critics, especially Siskel and Ebert, with how they redefined, being critics on TV, which you hadn't really seen, and so many people were inspired by them, like ourselves. And not saying we will be as good or great as they are, but I kind of be interested in leaving our mark in some way, and I think they're a great inspiration for that.
Yeah, I know definitely like Siskel and Ebert, they've been a big like inspiration for me, because just like the way they saw movies, because they were, for me, like the first ones that really kind of showed a way like beyond movies, where like you watch a movie, like if you're like casually or anything, like yeah, this movie's okay, where they're the ones that really like, this is why the movie's good or this is why the movie's bad. They really like looked deeper into a movie and like understood and saw what made it so good. And like that's like that was my big like takeaway from them, was just like they opened my eyes to like how to really like look at movies and like see past like the simple like good movie, bad movie, where like you really have to like look into it. And like that's like, again, like Sean said, we don't want to like be Siskel and Ebert, like we'll never be as big or as good as them, but we just like, we're inspired by them. We kind of like want to take the lessons they kind of like left out there, and like we just want to like just take them and just like do our own thing with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just something about breaking down movies, and I know I look at cinema very differently now than I did compared to when I first began, or when I was younger. Movies were it was the first thing I really loved. You know what I mean? Like everybody was introduced to music or bits and pieces, but cinema and movies were the first thing that I really liked, just because I liked them. And my tastes have changed obviously as I've got older, and now the way I look at cinema is very different, in particular movies, and it's more about finding those little things that people might miss, or something I enjoyed that others don't.
Yeah, I know like when I was younger, I used to be like that dumb little kid who like would love to watch action movies but just watch the action scenes. I would always like skip most of the movie. But then like of course as I've gotten older, I've like had a like deeper appreciation for film, and like how they tell a story, like how we begin and like how the journey goes from like beginning to middle to end. Like I definitely agree with what you're saying, where like we've both like, as the older we get, the more like our tastes in cinema change, and how we kind of like see movies, because like we can both agree like modern cinema isn't the same as it was back in the 90s, because that's why you have your like 90s Film Guru channel, because you love that decade in time where movies, they were really like firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, absolutely. They were trying different things, and we've just never got back to that. And I grew up in the 90s, so that's why that particular era and period in cinema had a real effect on me, because I just love... there's so many great movies that came out, and there's so many great filmmakers, and it's just, now we just feel like there are a handful of really great filmmakers out there, like Ari Aster and people like that, but there's just not the same impact that cinema had for me anyway when I was younger, growing up in the 90s.
Yeah. So we'll definitely our next episode we'll cover like the films that have the biggest impact on us. So we're gonna like wrap up now, but like thank you for listening to our very first episode. Like this is, as you can tell, this is probably like rough beginning because we're just starting out, but like we hope we can find like a dedicated following who like enjoy what we say and like have that shared passion for film and cinema that we do. So yeah, our next episode we're gonna like go into like more detail about the films that have had like the biggest impact on us and like how much they've meant to us. Like for example, I want to talk about Birdman, how like that film was like such a defining film for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And something like American Beauty was a defining film for me when I was, watching cinema. And yeah, we hope that people enjoy what we're doing, and even though this is a bit rough to begin with, hopefully you find something in it you like, and hopefully you like us and our journey through cinema.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to our very first episode. We hope to hear from you again. We hope to like have you listen to us again. My name's Luke, and this has been Sean.
And I guess you'll hear us again soon. Well, that was our podcast. So tell us in the comments below what you think, and we're ultimately going to be doing more of these. I'm not sure if I'm going to be putting all of them up on my channel particularly, but more on Spotify. But I just wanted to sort of do a bit of an introduction in regards to it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed our following episodes that are going on to follow. And I hope you continue on listening to our podcast as well as watching this channel. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit subscribe down the bottom, follow my letterbox and Facebook. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.